welcome, welcome, welcome. If you can relate to this experience I'm about to share, come on in the room. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Share something that I can wonderfully relate to. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm wondering if you can relate to a part of this. I'm going to be sharing something personable with you. And as a visionary, as a mind-body well-being expert, a burnout prevention expert, a leadership coach, and someone who has been, supporting visionary leaders to empower their mental health and empower them to feel confident and clear for well over a decade, I realized that there are parts of my story that have and would benefit others if I were to share them. So I'm taking a leap of faith this morning, the Sacred Walker Way, to just go ahead and jump in and see if you can relate. So if you can relate to this, comment below, and I will talk with you a little bit more at the very end about why I'm sharing this. But first, I would love to hear if you can resonate and relate to this story. So I struggled with yo-yo self-image and being in friendships that didn't see me, and I didn't see how I needed to be seen because I didn't see myself for a long time. Although I had strong confidence in who I was, I often downplayed my visions and my gifts constantly, and I didn't want anyone to feel as though I thought that I was all that, right? Even though I had the accolades, I got awards and certificates and celebrations that spoke to what I had accomplished, I didn't want to make anyone else feel like I was acting too big or feeling like I was, kind of being too small. And so I really struggled in relationships in that area. Even though I was born to stand out versus blend in, it terrified me. I wasn't necessarily afraid of a fear of, I wouldn't say it was that I was afraid of failure. I was actually more afraid of success. And like my mom, I felt historically excluded. I didn't want to feel excluded inside of my own head and amongst my peers. I say like my mom because my mom actually also was a visionary. She started her own small business. And so there are many things that as a daycare leader and teacher, I learned from her, and I saw the struggles that she had of trying to fit in as a first generation immigrant. And growing up, I also found that I was looking for ways to feel like I can be a part as well. Then one day, my mom, who was one of my superheroes, the only person who I saw truly understood me, she passed away. And I have to admit, my world fell apart. I gained over 20 pounds. I started getting early arthritis. Stress was really weighing down in my body. And then to lay it all off, one of my very first presentations on Capitol Hill when I was driving down to DC to present to a group of leaders, many of you who are now peers and friends of mine who might be watching this, on the way there to my very first presentation on Capitol Hill to co-present with a dear friend, on LGBTQIA inclusion and the importance for leaders to know how to foster inclusive spaces, I got sideswiped in a car accident. And so the pain that I was already feeling emotionally totally hit me physically. And so they told me on the other side of that, even though I made it to the presentation, I pushed through and made it to the presentation. And on the other side of recognizing that I ignored signs in my body, that my body was in pain emotionally, physically, spiritually, I was told that not only would I never be able to dance again, I may not even be able to touch my toes. And so, I went from feeling like I was invincible and feeling like, I could achieve all things, but I had to downplay my gifts, to now feeling like the one person who, understood me was gone, feeling like I wouldn't be able to dance again, which was kind of like my outlet without words. As a coach and as a therapist and as a leadership person, words, we use a lot of words, and dance was kind of my outlet. Movement was my outlet. So that felt like that was going to be taken from me. And then as well, the idea that I couldn't be able to show up as my powerful self, that doing basic things like touching my toes, things that I took for granted, would be gone. And so things began to be put into perspective. I started getting acne low iron and anemia were also showing up in my physical body. Anemia means that you don't have enough iron in your bloodstream to allow you to have energy for things to flow. And so I was constantly feeling not only this tiredness, this lethargic, like I didn't have enough energy, but I was also feeling lonely wherever I went every day, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And so I started, cultivating all kinds of, let's say, poor habits. As someone who is a habit breaker, I was cultivating all kinds of poor habits from a lonely place. And then, of course, COVID, I was thinking COVID would have made it worse, but ironically, it shifted something in me. And so I want to talk with you about that today. The fashionista in me began to develop some habits that were not healthy to kind of cope with the loneliness. And I began to really look at who am I, what do I have faith in, and what are my gifts. So, that was where I really hit rock bottom. I began to recognize that after 10 years of being in business, of being in the business of health and healing and leadership, I had to have my toolkit ready. I had to put all the pouring that I had done into others, that I had consistently poured into myself, thank God. And without it, I wouldn't be here today. And so one day during therapy, one of the many tools in my toolkit, my therapist asked me a question. And it really changed my life. She asked me, how my mom would want me to live. And I realized that I was living, but I didn't feel alive. I was living, but something inside of me had felt, lonely. I was living, but I didn't live from a place of really being a loved leader. And, as we get to know one another, I'll be talking a little bit more about what being a loved leader means and why I've formed the loved leadership movement. But for right now, I just realized that I didn't feel loved because I didn't feel seen. And I really needed to kind of on the other side of being hit by life on many levels. And I'm wondering if you can ever relate, if you've ever been hit by life. But on the other side, I needed to kind of discover who I am again. And so sometimes we go through these earthquake, lifequake moments. And so, back to the point. The point is my therapist asked me, how would my mom want me to live? And I felt her warm presence near me smiling. I felt her presence smiling life into who I am and into my quirks, life into my heart and my uniqueness. And it all became clear, right? That I have always been a leader who believed in the power and the impact of love. Not the passive kind of love, but a proactive love that was about some of the things I'll be talking about over time with you. And so I had to get clear on the fact that I still believed in love, even though I had life hit me. And so I had to reconnect to being worthy as a practitioner and as a leader of loving myself. And it's the truth that I had lost touch with that. And even after all this work, I had to re-pull on my toolkits to realize that my mom would have wanted me to live a life where I loved who I am personally and love the way that I showed up as a leader. She would want me to find joy in life, the way that even when her heart and mind felt like it was breaking down in her body, was really struggling with functioning the way that it used to, would find still ways to laugh in her eyes. I remember that there were times where she was immobile, but she could only move her eyes. And so if I said something that she would disagree with, she just kind of gave me the side eye. And it was like, even in being immobile, you're still giving the side eye, right? That she would find joy and know that in spirit, she was never alone, that even though she wasn't with me anymore, I knew that she was still giving me that side eye, kind of reminding me, come on, baby girl, you got this, right? Come on. I want to whisper into you, you got this. And so I had to be with that question that my therapist asked me. I began to ask myself many other questions. I began to look at my stressful setbacks in the past, the abusive history and the violence that I overcame, the Crown Heights riots that I overcame as being an historically excluded executive, growing up in a brown body where there were conflicts between historically Jewish and historically Afro-Caribbean individuals. and what was kicking up in those areas, right? Some of the overcomings, where I oftentimes, as a historically excluded executive, would be mistaken for the help. I had to really look at how I overcame stressful moments where people would come up to me at the front desk of a space at a hotel or at a banquet or a conference and mistake me for the coat check girl versus the speaker or the CEO or part of the executive committee. What that meant for me, to really be with that. And so I had to really be with, how did I overcome those various moments? And how did I even face, the losses? And how did I turn loneliness into leveling up? Because I was grounded consistently in love. And so how did I get through those moments of healing physically, spiritually, and emotionally? I had to replug back into my team, my holistic medical doctor, my therapist, my business coach, my mentor, my spiritual guides, my God, Dad, my indigenous practices, my interfaith walk, my homeopathic practices that had me growing up, where I, growing up, always found ways to heal holistically and naturally. I had to listen to my body and know what body wisdom was really trying to tell me so I can find my pathway forward. And instead of running from myself during COVID and running from time alone, I ran towards my loneliness. Friends who were afraid of my shine and family members who were afraid of my shining fell away. And I began to not be quite so doormatish, right? I began to really speak up about what I liked and didn't like because I was discovering me again. I felt renewed. And I began to attract a really strong executive inner circle that I was being more comfortable with being vulnerable with, because I found strength in my gentleness, strength in my boundaries, strength in my confidence, strength in my uniqueness, strength in my love of color, strength in my Afro-Caribbean side, strength in the resilience executive that I am, in the historically excluded executive that I am. And so, I had to really look at that. The friends who I began to call in, I began to heal emotional triggers of my childhood. And I had to forgive myself for feeling like I needed to give up on me because I could not save the one person who I couldn't heal, which was my mom. That I began to really look at how I could heal myself, right? And that maybe it wasn't my role to heal her. Maybe she came into the world, bless me for the time where I got the chance to feel seen by another human being truly. How rare that is, that I got the time that I did and she continues to see me, that I began to see that as the gift. I gave myself permission to reinvent myself, and I reconnected to my gifts and my vision of being able to transform the lives of 1 million, ambitious leaders who have been historically excluded, who've not always felt like they got a seat at the table, but they broke the glass ceiling anyway and want to connect with others so they know that it doesn't have to be lonely at the top, right? That we in health and human service, we who work either in or with those in government, who are entertainers and creatives, who are visionary leaders, can find ways to have a setback, but have that be a setup for a comeback. That I needed to have my own setup for a comeback before I can help anyone else. I had to put on that mask on my own face to save myself before I can save others. I had to reconnect to my gifts. My gifts for being a visionary whisperer. I am a visionary whisperer. I help unleash my own vision while supporting the vision of so many others. And now at this point, we've been able to, because I didn't lose faith in myself, because I didn't lose faith in the power of healing and didn't lose connection with my inner circle, that I was able to find healthier ways to celebrate my shine. And I'm healthier today than I've ever been as I entered into the second season of my life at 40. I've since, transformed my relationship to my lifestyle, been able to clear up acne. I can now touch my toes. I'm able to dance again. I no longer have chronic pain in the same way I no longer have early arthritis, but I'm able to navigate chronic pain in a different way because I understand my stress triggers, and I'm able to reduce my symptoms increasingly as a result, and have helped others do the same, reduce my anxiety, or keep my relationship to my anxiety at bay, so my anxiety can be my superpower versus something that makes me feel shut down and now it overwhelms me. I'm able to connect in and reduce loneliness because I no longer feel alone because God is always with me. My higher self is always with me. I have people around me that care for me. And my zest for life has improved. So, that work came because I was proactive about, really seeing that rock bottom place be a place that wasn't my stopping point, And so today I'm here for the come up, all right? I'm here for the come up. I'm here for others come up. And so no matter what, I just recognize that I'm here as a leader, and I'm here to connect back into and to know that I'm never alone and I deserve support. And so do you. So do we all as visionary leaders. I'm here to know that I'm worthy of my gift. I'm here to transform ancestral patterns. I'm here to live for and create a lasting legacy no matter what. And today, those in my inner executive circle aren't afraid of my shine because they are shining as well. And as a result, I'm committed to building communities for historically excluded executives and visionaries to know that when you are reinventing yourself or your gift, that you're never alone. So I'm wondering, if you can relate to this story, if you've ever had a moment where you felt like, you really need to connect in with others on the other side of a life quake or on the other side of a major life change, and you wanted to take time to figure out who you were again, to kind of discover something in that felt like it almost stopped you, and kind of moving through the other side of it. But you still had to show up as a superhero. You still had to show up as an executive. You still had to show up as a visionary. People were still depending on you to be strong, even when you were at your weakest. And so I find that those circles and those spaces are so key, so important, so essential, that I was able to give myself what I give to others every day. That is what I call love medicine. That space that you can discover, who you are, and pull on some of the toolkits that we have here at Kumba Health, that we have here with the Loved Leadership movement, so that you can be the love medicine that the world needs, as I like to say. And so today now I help others heal and transform their lives and in deep self-love, transform barriers to health and well-being, and create culturally affirming spaces so they can launch your vision as a radical act of self-love. So I'm hoping that this somehow touched you, resonated with you, vibed with you. I'm curious how it did. Please comment below. Let me know how my story speaks into your own. And if you can relate to any of this, please do let me know. Share this with a friend who, might need to know that rock bottom moment isn't their final destination. It's a route to the destination. And if you are someone who, are seeking a community that visionary leaders can celebrate each other's wins, shine, and continue to be the embodiment of being worthy of being the loved leader that they are. Comment below if you can relate or resonate with any of this. And if you're seeking that kind of community, keep an eye out for what is soon to come. All right. Looking forward to hearing from you, and I will look out for your follow-up soon. Thanks for joining.